There are quite a few misconceptions about money and investing that many people often fall into. These misconceptions can sometimes throw us off course. They make our financial journey less effective, or worse, they push us backward into failure and even debt. In today's video, I'll be sharing the 3 misconceptions I think are the most harmful when it comes to money. These are lessons that, if I ever had the chance to go back to the past, I would want to pass on to my 20-year-old self. Having these insights, I believe my financial journey would have been far more effective and cut much shorter. Now, let's dive into the main content to see what those 3 misconceptions actually are. Ostistis. Misconception number 1. Prosperity is not about having a lot of money. It's about having more choices. Many people tend to think that being wealthy means having a lot of money, living in expensive mansions, driving luxury cars. And because of this misconception, the moment people get a lot of money, they immediately spend it buying these things to surround themselves with. There are many cases where people have acquired all of these material things, yet still have no real choices. They live in expensive mansions, but that very lifestyle makes it nearly impossible for them to move to a new city or a new country. And those who run companies with hundreds or even thousands of employees have almost no choice but to keep going. They can't simply stop and live life on their own terms. From my perspective, when you have a great deal of money and possessions but lose your freedom of choice, that wealth means nothing. Think about it. When we have little money, we have few choices. We're forced to stay in one fixed place. We're forced to work. Then when we finally have a lot of money, we're still stuck in one fixed place, still forced to keep working whether we want to or not. That's clearly just trading one ugly prison for a prettier one. I've always aimed for prosperity, and to me, prosperity means having more choices, being able to choose any work I love, being able to live wherever I want. Some people have a great deal of money and assets, yet have no real choices. And on the other hand, there are people who have less money, but far more freedom of choice. To me, those in the second group are the truly wealthy ones. And once you realize this, once you make freedom of choice your primary goal, it naturally helps a great deal in how you plan your life and your finances, from how you earn money and spend it, all the way to how you save and invest. For example, when you have a large sum of money in hand, instead of building a company that grows to hundreds or thousands of employees, slowly taking away your freedom, you might choose to invest in assets that generate passive income, giving you more freedom in every other choice you make. That's the first misconception about money that I think very few people recognize. Misconception number 2. Money is only a means to get us where we want to go. And beyond that, it should never be allowed to control how we live or what we do. These 2 things might sound similar at first, but when you think carefully, they're very different. And more importantly, they have a huge impact on our lives. We earn money so that money can serve as a vehicle to carry us toward the goals we want. Combined with the first lesson, that means using money to gain more freedom of choice. But look around, and you'll see so many cases of people doing anything it takes to earn money, including things they don't actually want to do, things that go against their core values. At the lighter end, that means doing work that goes against their wishes, against their passion. At the heavier end, it means doing things that are outright unethical, all just to get money. When that happens, we're allowing money to make us worse, letting it shape us into whatever kind of person it wants without any resistance. Some might say, you can only say that because you're already in a position where you have enough money. First of all, I've been through those difficult times myself, so everything I share comes from real lived experience, not theory I've picked up somewhere. Second, to me, mindset is what matters, not external circumstances. Once you've started to see money as a tool, that perspective changes how you behave in any situation. When you're earning a little money, it's like having a small tool in your hand. Small tool, small work. When you have a bit more, you have a bigger tool, and you can do slightly bigger things. And so on, step by step, you move forward. The important thing is, we are always the ones in control of the game. We never put ourselves in a position where money controls us. Those who throw everything aside to chase money and end up being manipulated and controlled by it, most of the time, it's not because they had no other choice. Of course, there are a small number of truly desperate cases, people who are backed into a corner with no way out. But those are the minority. The majority of cases come down to one thing: a lack of patience. They simply want to get rich fast, and they actively choose to do things that go against their own values. That's exactly why our elders summed it up in one timeless saying: money is a good servant, but a terrible master. So, stay on the right side of that. Use money like it works for you, and never allow it to become your master. That's the second lesson I wish someone had told me much earlier. Lesson number 3, patience. Patience is always important in every aspect of life, but it is especially critical when it comes to money and investing. Try your best not to chase get-rich-quick schemes, because the vast majority of those invitations are scams. But even in the rare case where you're lucky enough to come across something that genuinely helps you get rich quickly, you still need to be careful, because whatever comes fast usually goes just as fast. For example, statistics show that over 70% of lottery winners end up back in poverty within just a few years. Because winning the lottery is a form of fast arrival, and what arrives fast departs fast. So, stay the course, go step by step, in your finances and in your life as a whole. The compound interest effect, known in English as the compound effect, is an incredibly powerful force. In my own specific case, my team and I have worked day and night for years, all to aim for what might seem like a modest return of just 20 to 30% per year. In truth, for anyone working in the finance industry, that's far from modest. It takes enormous effort to achieve, and even then, we don't always hit that target. But compared to the promises made by get-rich-quick schemes being pitched out there, people would probably laugh at that number. Yet, it is precisely through compound interest that results are generated, results that are often beyond what most people can even imagine. At its core, compound interest is simple. You have a sum of money invested, and each time it generates a return, you put that return back into the principal. And that combined total continues to generate an even larger return. Start with $10,000 at 20% per year. After the first year at 20% profit, that's $2,000. You add it back to your principal and now have $12,000. In year 2, 20% of $12,000 is $2,400. Add that in, and by the end of year 2, you have $14,400. And so it continues. 20% a year might not sound like much, but run it through the formula, and after 10 years, that initial $10,000 becomes over $60,000. Add another 10 years, and it's over $380,000. Add another 10 years after that, and you're looking at over $2,300,000. These are numbers that are genuinely hard to picture without actually running the math. And that's exactly why my team and I put in so much work, yet only target a 20% return. Even with passive investing methods, which are also a very solid approach, a return of just 7 to 10% per year is already more than enough to go the long distance. Yet, look around, so many young people are chasing numbers far more extreme. 100% profit in a year, or even in just a few months. And in doing so, they walk straight into the traps set by scammers and bad actors. Those people are simply exploiting the greed and get-rich-quick mentality of the naive and the impatient. As I said, get-rich-quick is almost always a scam. But even if, hypothetically, there was something out there that could genuinely make you rich fast, you'd still need to be careful. Because in money matters especially, when you haven't yet learned to master wealth and it arrives too quickly, it will leave just as quickly, and sometimes it will drag you down even lower than where you started before it came. So, be patient. Go slow and steady. Set yourself return targets that are realistic and safe, and let compound interest quietly carry you to where you need to go. That, to me, is the safest and most effective path to financial freedom.